is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Locked In Baseball podcast. I'm William Locke, and joining me on this fine Tuesday morning, October 14th, is Luis Barranco. Luis, the CS series are off to a hot start. We've had some crazy games so far. How you doing?
I mean, we're just popping out whenever. I mean, the first thing we were popping on a Saturday. Now we're popping on Tuesday. What's next? We're going to pop on a Friday night and start dropping a pod on a Friday night.
Rumors have it we might be doing one Sunday morning during the day in wherever we are. Undisclosed location for a wedding this weekend. We might be recording then. Might be recording a Monday morning. Who knows? I don't think we'll do one on Friday. Maybe. Again, it depends on how these series pan out. I know World Series Game 1 is next Friday, so we might have to record then as well. But yeah, anytime, any place, we might just have to hit record.
I mean, it's pretty funny. I mean, we dropped the Saturday morning pod, which is crazy enough. I mean, it's the CS. You know, we're down to the Final Four of baseball. You got a whole nation in Toronto against Seattle, and then you got the Dodgers and Brewers, which, I mean, there's pressing topics. I mean, like Jeff Passan dropped his article yesterday talking about the disparity between the Dodgers and the Brewers. It could shape the next CBA, and I mean, here we are.
Dodgers win Game 1 last night, 2-1. I can run through the box score real quick, and then we can get into some of the key scenarios of the game. But Blake Snell was incredible. 8 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 10 strikeouts, 103 pitches. Question on if he should have came back out for the ninth. We can get to that later, but he was incredible. Aaron Ashby got the opener role for the Brewers yesterday, went an inning, had a walk, but got out of the inning. And then Quinn Priester went 4 innings of scoreless baseball. We had the insane double play ball that the Brewers turned when Sal Frelick went to the wall, leaping, almost catch, but it hit off the wall. Then he caught it again, threw it home, and then we had a double play, force out at home, force out at third. Crazy play there. You felt like the Brewers were going to have some momentum going for them at that point, but no. Blake Snell continued to shut down the Brewers hitters, retired like 16 or 17 straight at one point. And then the only runs for LA were a Freddie Freeman solo shot in the 6th, which more on Freddie Freeman later, a bases loaded walk by Mookie Betts off Abner Uribe in the 9th inning, who had 3 walks. He was not very good after doing the phone slam down celebration against the Cubs. The Brewers did rally in the 9th. Jackson Chourio had a sac fly, which made it 2-1. But then Bryce Terang struck out in the final at-bat of the game, which, of course, we can discuss in more detail. But it was a crazy game. Even though it was only 2-1, there were a lot of moments to discuss. Luis, what were your thoughts on last night's game?
I mean, to me, I think we have to talk about that crazy play I believe it was in the 4th, correct? When Sal Frelick he goes up for it, hits off the wall. I mean, talk about it from a player's perspective. How difficult is that? Put yourself into Teoscar Hernandez's shoes, who's on third. How difficult is that? You know, you've been in a situation, not similar, but in situations like that. How difficult is it for you to read the ball? And especially in an arena, not an arena, but in a field, a big ballpark. Like, I couldn't imagine, like, people want to be mad and say the Dodgers would have lost last night because of that play. You can't be mad at Teoscar Hernandez for that play. That's like a 1 in a bloop play that will happen. I mean, you can't see if the ball ricochets off the wall. You assumed it was a sacrifice play because you saw Sal Frelick catch the wall, but you don't really know until you see the replay and see that it just touched the wall for 2 or 3 seconds max.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was tagging. I don't know how he didn't score at that for a ball that was hit so deep. I mean, it was deepest part of the park, basically, right dead center. Even if he did catch it, or even if Teoscar knew that he didn't catch it and it hit off the wall, whatever, he still should have been in tag mode, because you're always in tag mode from third in a play like that. I'm surprised he didn't get home in time to score there. Will Smith was like between second and third, closer to third, so he had to go all the way back. He probably could have been tagging up there as well, expecting the ball to be caught. I thought it was going to be a home run off the bat. That ball was really traveling last night in Milwaukee. Max Muncy hit the ball. And yeah, it was in the fourth inning. There were a couple of other fly balls that really carried deep. I thought it was gone, like I said, but it wasn't. And I don't know. I feel like you got to be in tag mode no matter what. There, it wasn't necessarily like awful base running. I think it was like no one knew what the heck was going on. But I still think at the bare minimum, Teoscar should have scored from third, just tagging up. But they got the force out at home, which was crazy. Probably the longest force out I've ever seen.
I just think there's no like bad play. I get what you say now that I think about it with the tagging from third, that you should be in tag mode. You should have just held at third, but it's just a hard play, you know?
Yeah, it is a tough play. I got to give credit to the field umpire who called it immediately, said that it hit the wall, and credit to the home plate umpire for knowing that it was going to be a force out at home. Initially when he called them out on the force play, and when Contreras went for the force play and didn't go for the tag, I'm like, wait, what? Because everyone was confused. Brian Anderson, the play-by-play guy, was confused, which I think it's funny that Brian Anderson does he's the local Brewers play-by-play guy during the regular season. Now he's calling the games for TBS. I believe Joe Davis from Fox does the Dodgers games as well. So he'll probably get to cover them if they make it to the World Series, which it seems like they will. We'll see. It's only game one. But yeah, that play was, again, one of the craziest plays, one of the more confusing plays when it was initially happening that I've ever seen. But again, like you would have thought it would have been some type of momentum swing for the Brewers, and they've kind of had this like voodoo magic that they've been working all season long. But after that bottom four, Snell goes strikeout, ground out. So he kept mowing the Brewers hitters down.
I think that's the biggest story of the game. Aside from that play, it's Blake Snell, Snellzilla, worth every single penny that the Dodgers gave him last offseason. He literally was in locked in mode, literally. His stat line was as follows. The dude was just pitching. I've never seen a guy like I've seen dominate, but he was not using the fastball. It was just changeup, curveball. He pitched 8 strong, 1 hit, 10 strikeouts. And the 1 hit he gave up was to Caleb Durbin, which he ended up picking him off in a rundown, like after they caught him stealing. So again, Blake Snell, it just reminds you, like, if the Dodgers get consistent pitching from Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and whoever decides to go game 3, if it's Ohtani or if it's Tyler Glasnow, like if you get starts like this, this is probably the best you could possibly get, damn near. But if you get really good starts, guys going deep into the pen, deep into the game, and not letting the pen get involved for the Dodgers, I just don't see a world where Milwaukee can win this series. The Dodgers starting rotation is literally the strength of this ball club, and you're seeing that right then and there, like last night.
I think that's the biggest story, the biggest kind of factor that's going to determine the series is if the Dodgers starting pitching gets length, like the way they did with Snell last night, 7, 8 innings. Snell obviously went 8. But if you can, and that's going to be really the story for the Dodgers if they want to go back-to-back and win the World Series again this year. If they get this type of length from their starting rotation, if all of those guys have been on for the most part this postseason, if they continue to pitch the way they are and they avoid the bullpen having to go 4, 5, 6+ innings, which a lot of teams we've seen from them have to do this, or we've seen a lot of teams have to do that this postseason. If the Dodgers, if their starting pitching is great like that, they're going to win the World Series, just because, they're so lights out. And if you look at the pitch breakdown from Snell last night, it was 38 changeups, 28 four-seam fastballs, 22 curves, and 15 sliders. And
there was a point he wasn't just using the fastball; he was just spamming changeup, just spamming it,
especially to righties. Yeah, he was locked down, and man, he gets so much weak contact. Like I don't think the Brewers had more than 1 or 2 hard hit balls off Snell, if that. It was ground out after ground out after ground out, or strikeout. He was just nasty, and it's not like he was the most highly coveted free agent last offseason. He's kind of had a mercurial career. He's won a Cy Young in both leagues, but there's been moments where It's felt like, I don't know, is this guy really a top 10 pitcher in the league? I think he's clearly proven that he is again this year. He's had up and down seasons. And again, he wasn't like the most highly sought after free agent last year. But man, Dodgers got one here in Snell, and he's proven why he's one of the best pitchers in the league.
One thing we do forget, I think this plays to the benefit of the Dodgers, is that he doesn't have a lot of mileage on the season. Like, people forget he was hurt for a good majority of the season. He was hurt from around April, May, all the way to August. And I remember, this was a point of our group chat because Armand drafted him for fantasy baseball, and we started like clowning him. But like, if you think about it, that's a huge benefit now for the Dodgers. If you think about it, for a guy, a lot of these pitchers now have tacked on 100, 150 plus innings this season. He probably isn't close at all. So, like, man, you can make the debate that he could have gone out for the ninth, but I think, Dave Roberts made the best decision pulling him and taking him out right there and handing it to Roki. I mean, Roki has been really good this postseason. And, I mean, you're just trying to save Snell for if a game 5 or a game 6 happens, or for a World Series appearance. Like, you have to save them. And like the way Roki's pitching, like, you have full trust in Roki. Now, that's another story if Roki can't get the job done, which was evident last night. He loaded up the bases, and he was lucky enough, the Dodgers were lucky enough to get out of it last night. I mean, there's so many occasions in that little bottom of the ninth that the Brewers had to win that ball game. So
yeah, to your point on Snell and like just being injured the whole season, he only pitched 61.1 innings pitched from Snell this regular season. And I do think there might be a benefit of, obviously you don't ever want to be hurt, but it does benefit you if you're able to get a little bit of a ramp up in August, September, heading into the postseason. And then, once you're in the postseason, you're much more rested than, like you said, a lot of these guys that are throwing 150 plus innings during the regular season. There's just less arm fatigue there. And, we saw it with Snell. He's been incredible this postseason. Tyler Glasnow missed a lot of time during the regular season this year as well, and he's been great in the postseason. Had that incredible start against Philly in Game 4 of the DS. Yamamoto's been healthy for most of the season, but Ohtani's a guy, that missed a good chunk of the season, and he's looked pretty good in the postseason as well, coming off that injury. So, like, not only are all of the Dodgers pitchers top 10 pitchers, 15 pitchers, whatever, to start, just from a general point, just a general starting point, but they also are fresh, much fresher than some of these other pitchers. And I don't know, it's benefiting them greatly. I'll be very curious to see, like, next season, if if they are healthy the whole year, what it looks like for them in the playoffs next season. But that's a long way away. This year, it's been great for them. And yeah, in the night, you have anything on that? Sorry.
no, I mean, that's the point. I mean, when you the whole thing is, when you have 4 aces coming out night after night, I just don't know how Milwaukee can physically, and how can they win a series. It'll take a really good hitting night, and for Milwaukee to hop on these pitchers and apply pressure and get the pitch counts up. Like, Snell left with the pitch count a shade over 100. Like, if it was a bigger game, like, he could have pitched the ninth. And you can't have that happen if you want to have a chance to beat good teams. You can't have the ace be all the way in. You have to work counts. He was just that good last night.
Agreed. Yeah, they were aggressive. They weren't working a lot of counts, and that's why the pitch count was able to stay pretty low at 103. I do think, to your point of trying to save him for a potential Game 5, whatever, in this series, I do think that makes a lot of sense, and that's probably what went through Dave Roberts' mind, at least a little bit. We have to have the perspective that it is only Game 1 of the CS. It's not Game 1 of the World Series, or a Game 6 or 7 of the World Series. Like, the Dodgers are probably going to want to have 2, 3, who knows, maybe even 4 more starts out of Blake Snell in the postseason this year. They were saving him for those because they know they're going to be there down the stretch in late in this series if they have to, or in the World Series. So I agree. That makes a lot of sense. He was great. Roki did not have his stuff for the first time all postseason. Had those 2 great saves against Philly in Philly. but he did not have his stuff. The splitter was not working. Had a good swing and miss on Yelich on one of the splitters, but ended up walking him, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fastball was not, he was not able to locate it, missing away on lefties. He struggled, and, Trinan came in and he got the job done. Barely. Churio hit that deep sac fly, which was off. That was off Roki. And if he was just a tad bit late, if he was a little bit more out there, that ball could have left the yard. Then the Yelich walk, and then they brought in Trinan. Who walked Contreras on a full count. Had the base open anyway, so it wasn't like the end of the world, and that run would have been meaningless for the Brewers anyway, it would have been meaningless. And then the Terang AB moved away from the potential hit by pitch that would have tied the game, and then swung at a ball that was over his head. I don't have, again, it's
talk about it. Hitter. Let's go to the hitter's workshop with William Block here.
I just think it's in a situation like that, it's human reaction to move away from a baseball that way. You can't really fault him. It's a split-second decision. It's all reflex. None of it is like you're actively thinking in your head, oh, I should let this hit me, unless like you're actively thinking that before the pitch is thrown, or if it's something that crosses your mind, like, hey, if a ball is going to come at me here and about to hit me, I'm going to lean into it, or I'm going to let it hit me, whatever. He obviously didn't have that thought, and he didn't let it hit him. I don't fault him for that. I do fault him for swinging at the fastball that was a foot over his head. That is one of the hardest pitches to take, because I always say, like, it looks like your favorite dessert. It looks like something you need, but you shouldn't have. For me, it looks like Jenny's jelly powdered donut flavored ice cream. It's something that I want. It's something that I do not need. And that's exactly what the pitch looked like to Bryce Terang, and he swung at it. Because it's at your eye level. It always looks great. It looks like a fastball right down the middle. That one was way above his head. And yeah, struck out to end the game. Tough spot for him there. The Brewers really had every opportunity to tie that game, second and third, one out. And ultimately, they leave one on the table. They give home field advantage back to the Dodgers. And, it's Yamamoto game too, so it doesn't get any easier for them.
They have to capitalize. I mean, when you get those opportunities, you just have to make the most out of them. And they clearly did not. Want to give a big shout out to the Dodgers infield defense. I mean, Max Muncy and Mookie Betts and like the whole infield were making some plays. I mean, again, they were making that comment last night, and 100%. Blake Snell, we talked about it earlier, was inducing weak contact. And for the picks that Max Muncy and the grounders that Mookie was getting, and they were doing quality throws to Freddie Freeman. I don't think Freddie Freeman had one ball last night that he had to go acrobatic or try to pick out of the dirt. And at the end of the day, we've seen it so many times with not even the Yankees, but so many other teams that, you do a bad pick or a bad transfer, and you throw the ball in the dirt to the first baseman, or it gets past the first baseman, and that means the man's on first or the runner advances, and it starts an avalanche of errors, and it starts a big inning. And for the Dodgers to get that many groundouts last night, not commit a single error from that infield last night, I mean, you got to give a round of applause to them. And again, we're getting to the point in the postseason, and I'm not just saying it's just this point, but in the postseason, little things matter. Errors matter. Like I said, the difference between getting an out and throwing it behind or into the dirt is a difference between 1 or 2 runs sometimes. Running the base paths correctly, like it could have been disastrous that 4th inning if they don't score again. I mean, we could have easily looked at the Dodgers lost last night because they got walked off, that, Teoscar Hernandez, like you said, wasn't in the correct run mode on the third base. Again, the little things and those little mistakes are magnified here now in the postseason more than ever.
Yeah, of course. And I thought the Brewers played really good defense as well. Terang had that nice pick at second base to start the double play off. I believe that was Mookie Betts right after they walked intentionally Shohei Ohtani. Brewers played good defense. Dodgers played good defense, but the Brewers only had 2 hits. Dodgers had 7. Another thing with the Brewers, their pitching was great. They only gave up 2 runs against the Dodgers in a game 1. But it wasn't good enough because the offense could not pick them up in any way. The only people to give up runs were Chad Patrick and Abner Uribe. That walk in the 9th inning became a huge insurance run for the Dodgers, and they go home with the loss. On Freddie Freeman, I know Freddie Freeman's home run did not necessarily win the game for the Dodgers last night because the insurance run in the 9th inning won it for him. But I'm starting to feel like Freddie Freeman is like the freaking Grim Reaper in the playoffs. Had this home run tonight, felt like a huge momentum swing in a game in which, the Brewers were just getting nothing against Blake Snell. Had the grand slam last year against the Yankees in game 1, absolutely crushed the Yankees in the whole World Series. Won the MVP of the World Series last year, was incredible. Had that 2022 home run against the Brewers when he was on the Braves. Or I think that was 2021 in the D.
Yeah, it was on one leg. They put the highlight there last night about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 2021 CS home run against the Brewers, and then last night I just feel like Freddie Freeman, when you see him at bat in the postseason, he's coming to end your team season, and of course he did it last night. He's been incredible. He's still like in his mid to late 30s, and this guy's still doing it. Hall of Famer for sure.
100%.
Brewers won the regular season 6-0, and the Dodgers win game 1, 2-1. And that's what matters most. Game 2 tonight, Yamamoto versus Freddie Peralta. The Dodgers are favored on all sports books. So be interesting to see what happens tonight. Brewers, this is a must-win game for the Brewers, obviously.
My thing is, and I'm going to ask you this, and I'll ask the listeners this. Wasn't last night the best possible scenario for the Brewers? Like in a game that, think about it. In a game that, they never got down more than 2-0. You still had a chance to win. Like, yes, we are heavily favoring the Dodgers. We're sorry that we're heavy Dodgers favorites right now, but it's just the fact of the matter. Like on paper and how the Dodgers play and the experience, the Dodgers are the better ball club. But there's a reason why you play the game. But when you look at last night's game and we talk about the box score that we're talking about right now, wasn't last night the best possible scenario for the Brewers? You get dominated by the starting pitching, and you allow 7 hits multiple ways that the game could have been easily 5-0 in the 9th. And you only lost 2-1. Isn't that a bad sign to come? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you take any like positives out of last night from the Brewers. Like you get absolutely worked and you still weren't able to make it happen.
Like you were right there in the 9th inning, 2nd and 3rd, 1 out with a chance to win in a game in which you got dominated by Snell. You had one of the luckiest double plays we've ever seen in a, would have been a potential grand slam, would have probably blown the game open because the Brewers weren't scoring 4 or 5 runs against this Dodgers team, this game at all. No chance. You're right. It did feel like they left one on the table, and there is a world in which that luck starts to level out more for the Dodgers because I do feel like they were a little bit unlucky last night and they kind of cruised the rest of the series. We'll see.
We forgot about the bullpen. The Brewers bullpen literally is a bullpen game. And again, we talked about last week versus the Yankees and the Yankees-Blue Jays series, how that bullpen game for the Jays is so difficult to do that you had so many guys go back to back to back to back, and they all had it. And I'm just saying, it's just like you had all these things go against you, and you still had a chance to win. Like, I don't know how that bodes well for a Milwaukee fan. Like, you left one on the table, literally.
Yeah, they gotta be feeling a little bit nervous this morning. They were all in on winning that game. Obviously, you're all in on winning every single playoff game, but to have a successful bullpen game requires a lot. And Uribe didn't have it necessarily. He gave up the 2nd run. Patrick gave up the 1st run, but for the most part, everyone was on their A game. And only 2 runs against this Dodgers lineup is a massive success. I'd be very surprised if the Dodgers score less than 2 runs in any of the rest of the games in this series, because again, you'll be seeing these guys more often. Doing a bullpen game in game 1 is an interesting strategy because as the series wears on and you've seen these bullpen guys more often, you get used to their stuff and you know what they're going to bring, their strategy against you as a hitter. Just being able to see all of those guys in game one was a benefit for the Dodgers. And, the Brewers only saw Sasaki and Trinan out of the pen, and it was only a couple hitters. Interesting. I don't know how many guys the Dodgers are going to use out of the pen. They've been pretty limited, but they haven't had to use the bullpen because the starting pitching has been so good. I don't know. I mean, advantage Dodgers big time, obviously, stealing game one on the road.
Couple notes. Shohei Ohtani, 0 for 2, 3 walks.
They're still intentionally walking him and giving him the respect as a hitter.
Yeah, I understand intentional walks are a part of the game, but still 0 for 3 walks. Just saying. And then my other question is, do you think Dave Roberts pulls Andy Pages out in the lineup tonight?
Why?
He just hasn't been good. I mean, his postseason this year, in the wild card series, he didn't record a hit in 9 at-bats and 10 plate appearances. In the DS, he was 0.67 and 15 plate appearances. He has one hit, and last night he had 4 plate appearances and 3 ABs and did not record a hit. He only has a sack hit last night. And Alex Call, I mean, yes, he's a rotational piece, but I mean, in the wild card series, he went 1 for 1, 2 for 5 in the DS, and he didn't record a hit last night in his one pinch hit appearance.
Yeah, I think Pages will be out there today. I do. I just don't know if they have that replacement. I don't think you're going to give a start to Alex Call or that Dean guy that they bring in for defensive situations.
Purposes. Yeah.
They pinch hit for Dean yesterday with Call. It was Call that pinch hit for Dean. So I don't know. I think Pages will be in the lineup tonight. I think they'll probably, because it's a righty, I think they might run a similar lineup. But last night was their left-handed lineup because Ashby was a starter, but Priester came in. I think it'll be a similar lineup.
We'll see. Let's move on. I mean, what do you want to hit on next? We want to hit this ALCS. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, we got to do that before we get to the Cubs funeral because we haven't done that yet. But let's go to the CS on the American League side.
Let's talk about it. I mean, Sunday night was a great night. I mean, you had Chiefs Lions on television on one screen, which I mean that's for a whole nother podcast about how the Kansas City Chiefs and Detroit Lions. I know for you Midwesterners, but you also had game one, Mariners versus the Blue Jays up in Toronto. I mean, Mariners won 3-1 in a big game. Bryce Miller came out and had one of the not the greatest start to a CS, giving up a homer to George Springer, and his pitch count went fairly up in the first inning, which wasn't great. I mean, I have it up right now. The Mariners pitch count on Sunday was 27 pitches in the first inning. But then after that first inning that the Mariners got out of, they only needed 7 pitches to get out of the second, 8 out of the third, 4 out of the eighth, 8 out of the fourth, 11 out of the fifth, 15 out of the sixth, 8 and 8 for the last 3 innings in the 7, 8, 9. So pretty efficient. I mean, Mariners got it done. Big dumper with the homer. And you also had Jorge Polanco with RBIs, who quietly is making his case to be the ALCS MVP with how he's producing. I mean, last night he had 5 at-bats. He got 2 hits, 3 RBIs, and a homer. And last night the bats came alive for Seattle, winning 10-3. You had homers from Julio, Jorge, as I just said, Josh Naylor, who's home in Ontario. And, again, the bullpen for Seattle was very strong with Edward Bizardo, Carlos Vargas, and Emerson Hancock now allowing a single run, only 1 hit allowed between the 3 of them in 6 innings and only 4 walks. I mean, 10-3, they go back to Seattle with home field advantage. I mean, like I said, it's not a series until the road team wins, and Seattle has successfully taken 2 on the road. And man, oh man, what is going on in Toronto is this a and the question I'll ask you is this: is this a question of having division similarity between the Yankees and Blue Jays, where the Blue Jays have played the Yankees so many times that the Blue Jays know what the Yankees do really well and what they don't do very well, in comparison to Seattle and Toronto, where they don't play themselves as frequent? So yes, they do still scout, but they don't have them figured out like the Yankees.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I do think there is some of that there for sure. The Blue Jays' biggest rival is the Yankees. I feel like they, built themselves up or built that series up in their mind much more so than a series against the Mariners. Obviously, it's the CS. It's a huge series. They obviously wanted to win. I do feel like there is part of that approach the Blue Jays had. Like that Yankee series meant so much to them. And winning that series felt like, I'm not going to say World Series, but it felt like, a huge accomplishment. I mean, we saw Vlad crying after they won that series. And but what I really think maybe hurt the Blue Jays the most is the rest. Baseball is a sport that's meant to be played every single day. The Blue Jays won that series against the Yankees. They closed it out on Wednesday night in the Bronx. So they had a bunch of days off between Wednesday and game 1 on Sunday. The Mariners had that crazy 15-inning game on Friday night, and then they didn't. They flew to Toronto and played again on Sunday. They had the Saturday off. They didn't practice. They flew there, and boom, they were ready to go. It was a nice rest day for them. So I do think, just the fact that Seattle was just continued to play and kind of didn't skip a beat maybe helped them win game 1 and game 2 in this series. To go into the fortress that is Rogers Center. And, it's a place that not many people won this season. They only lost like 20 something games in the Rogers Center this year. Super impressive from the Mariners. So I do think it does have to do a little bit with the familiarity. I also think the rest kind of hurt Toronto in this one.
But I mean, you can make the same argument that they had rest between the Yankees series and it didn't hurt them. Regardless of the fact, I mean, we just got to get down and talk about how Seattle's been playing. I mean, the bats finally came alive last game, and winning the Monday game, which, like I said, the Sunday night game, which I texted you. You were post marathon hangover, not alcoholic hangover, but leg hangover. Like your legs were just dead, tired. I literally said, "Wow, like it could be night." The way Toronto jumped out, and they got out of it pretty quickly. And I mean, it wasn't a game that Seattle dominated, but it was a grinded out game. It was one of those games that, it wasn't like one big inning. It was a slow burn, as I'd like to call it, that they did with the Mariners to come back and win that game. And I mean, they go back to Seattle for game 3 and game 4, and man, the series has gotten turned on its head. I mean, Seattle's not an easy park to hit in, and I mean, advantage is all towards the Mariners. I mean, Mariners go home cooking. They got this. They play at T-Mobile. T-Mobile's going to be rocking. Those Seattle fans are going to be absolutely going nuts. And with the 2-0 lead, I think if Toronto cannot win game 3, it will be curtains here soon. Not saying that they'll get swept, but it's going to be very tough for them. And I know, 3-0 leads and 3-1 leads are hard to come back, but I think game 3 is a serious decider. And historically, teams that have gone down 0-2 and lost to 2 home games at home have not fared very well going into coming back and getting to the World Series and winning the series.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a situation you want to be in. And I don't think I could be more impressed with Seattle and the way they came in, won those 2 games in the Rogers Center in Toronto. Again, a place that no one has really won this season. The Blue Jays have had crazy success there. After those 2 games, Toronto is now 54-27 at home this season, which is still an incredible record. But for the way it started, George Springer, the leadoff home run, Bryce Miller wasn't looking great early in that game. You're like, oh boy, here we go again. We saw the Blue Jays score 1 million runs against the Yankees in the DS in Toronto. We thought that was going to continue. But no, Miller settled down. The bullpen was great in that game. And, Jorge Polanco, who statistically hasn't been insane this season or this postseason, 258 average with a 851 OPS, 3 home runs. But he's been so clutch for this team in the postseason. Had those 2 key RBI singles on Sunday, and then hit a 3-run shot in game 2 on Monday. He's been great. The pitching's been great. Logan Gilbert again was shaky, didn't have his best start, but the bullpen picked him up. They got to Savage early. Just given the travel circumstances too, they won late Friday night. Did the whole, celebration thing, get a little drunk, whatever, and then they had to fly across the continent, basically, from Seattle all the way to Toronto. They were at such a disadvantage for games 1 and 2 in Toronto, and they won them both. Now they're flying back home. All of the advantage, like you said, is in their courts. But it's baseball. It's a weird sport. Anything can happen. But game 3, it's going to be George Kirby versus Shane Bieber, which is, a must win for Toronto, of course, because it's probably going to be a bullpen game on Thursday for them, which you don't want to see if you're a Blue Jays fan. That's another thing with the Toronto. The Mariners have gotten to their pen. And their pen hasn't looked as great. So they're firing on all cylinders, man. Josh Naylor's been playing great baseball. He steals bases, even though he's one of the slowest runners statistically in the league. Just so impressed with this team. They looked really good, really cohesive. And now they're on the precipice of their first World Series appearance in franchise history. They're 2 games away. They are so close. They can taste it. I know they want to finish it out in Seattle in front of those home fans. Would be an incredible celebration. They're so close. They're so close.
They're right there. I gotta, like I said, game 3, if Kirby can get the win, I think it's going to be over real soon.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just hangover. I don't know, but the Blue Jays, congratulations, you've got to this point, but we need a little more. And I think the Blue Jays aren't going to go down without a fight. So we'll see what happens. Again, very impressed with the Mariners bats. It's not a Cal Raleigh Julio thing. It's a collective. All the bats have woken up, and if they keep producing like the way, they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, huge home run by Raleigh in game 1 too off Gausman. I thought they might have pulled Gausman a little bit early in game 1, but then last night you had Josh Naylor go 3 for 4. Jorge Polanco had 2 hits and 3 ribbies. Julio had that home run in the first, the 3-run shot against Savage, where there's an alternate reality in which Randy Arozarena goes down swinging or goes down on strikeouts the first at bat of the game. Where I can't remember, it was 1-2, 2-2 or something, and Savage dotted a pitch on the outside corner. Arozarena started to walk back to the dugout, and umpire called it a ball. He ends up walking, and Julio ends up hitting the 3-run home run in that inning. So that could have changed things. I don't know. Savage didn't have his A stuff last night. Also, the Yankee game was just another data point that the Mariners could point to figure out his approach and his stuff, his movement.
Of course he doesn't. The Blue Jays World Series, what it looks like, was the Yankees. And I know it's going to get a lot of Toronto fans very angry, but they played it like the World Series. I mean, they're acting like they won the World Series. I know, yes, you're beating the Yankees. And I know there's obviously, in all sports, when you beat one of the big market teams like the LA, the New Yorks, you are going to feel some type of way because they obviously have the more history and the bigger payrolls. But I mean, act like you got to act like you've been there, and act like the job's not done. You haven't won the World Series. You won a freaking DS. If you get eliminated here and you get your stuff knocked in by Seattle, nobody's going to remember this playoff run. I'm sorry. Yeah, congratulations, you beat the Yankees, but did you win the whole thing? No, nobody's going to remember the season. They'll just remember the World Series was, the Dodgers and Mariners. They're not going to remember, we beat the Yankees. Congratulations, you won a gold star. It's going to sound awful right now, but I mean, it's facts.
I do think in the long-term historical perspective, you kind of have to make the World Series for people to remember what you did in the postseason.
You do. You can't just be but we beat the Yankees. And did you get to the World Series? We go to the championship series. Nobody remembers. It's like in the World Cup. they were playing the third and fourth place games. Does anybody remember the third and fourth place games? No.
No.
Like only on very rare occasions we remember like the semifinals of World Cups, unless they're like iconic series. And right now, the way you're going down is you're going down not swinging. You're going down knocked out in like the fifth or sixth round. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's easy to quote historical World Series. No one goes back and quotes like, 2004, that World Series was Red Sox. They got over the hump. They won the first World Series in forever against, I think it was the Cardinals. 02 was, Giants or Angels over Giants in 7, but no one remembers who they played in the CSs that year. It's what happened in the World Series, man. And they are going down limping right now. Vladdy hasn't looked like the same player.
Look, it doesn't matter. What matters is like you gotta show some some toughness here, and you gotta do something here. You gotta go down swinging. If you go get eliminated in 4 or 5 games, I think Yankees fans and a lot of fans are just gonna make you look out more to a joke like, oh, you celebrated like you won everything after you beat the Yankees. Like, cool. I get it. I get you guys don't beat the Yankees often, and I get this is new to you guys. Congratulations. You haven't done it in a while, but again, nobody remembers these series unless you win the whole thing.
Or at least make it.
Exactly. It's like a good comparison is like when the Grizzlies made the conference finals. Do we remember that? Really? We only remember that because we were living there. But do historical NBA fans remember that year? No. Oh, the Grizzlies beat the Spurs and the Thunder. No, the Spurs and the Thunder before they got eliminated.
No, we got swept by the Spurs in the conference finals. I don't remember who they beat before that.
No, they beat the Spurs because they eliminated. It was 1 versus 8.
No, that was a different year. I'm almost positive the year they made the conference finals, they got swept by the Spurs.
I will bet cash that they beat the Spurs in the first round.
No,
I'll bet drinks and dinner with you and your girlfriend this weekend when we're at the wedding.
You sure you want to make that bet? Because you're gonna lose. Okay,
100%. Oh, we'll bet something, but I'm looking it up now. I'm looking it up right now. Let's see. San Antonio Spurs 2011 NBA playoffs.
No, it wasn't 2011.
Okay. So I was thinking the wrong year. So it was 2012, the year after.
Grizzlies conference finals. That was 2012, 2013 NBA season. They got swept by the Spurs in 4, obviously.
Oh, okay. Wow.
yeah. Okay. Guess I'm getting drinks and dinner.
Well, guess we're stopping at McDonald's on the way over. But no, yeah. But look, shout out to Seattle. Again, hopefully Toronto can show some fight into them. I know yesterday was Thanksgiving. Not a good Thanksgiving meal for the Canadians last night. So, yeah. But
yeah, my camera froze there. But yeah, I guess I'm getting drinks and dinner. All right. Well, that's that series.
Cubs,
last thing on Seattle, I just want to say their pitching is. I just wanted to get this thought off my head too. Their pitching is so deep. They still have George Kirby, Game 3, and then Game 4 is going to be. Right now, it's slated to be Luis Castillo, and then Brian Wu is still in the clip too. If they want to use him in this series, coming off injury, they're deep, man. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but a Mariners-Dodgers World Series would be pretty fun to watch.
It would be fun to watch for the baseball enthusiasts, but for the casual, it would be terrible because those games start to be 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Nah, they'll move them up. Because right now they got the Mariners starting at 7 o'clock Central, even though they're on the West Coast.
It's going to be 8 o'clock Eastern start times. Watch.
Yes.
That's going to be. It's going to be 8 Eastern.
I think it will be regardless, yeah.
Regardless. So, but let's talk about the Cubs, man. I think a lot of Cubs fans are very heartbroken after last week's Game 5 loss. But I think we got to really dig deep and not too deep, but I really think we got to look at your ownership. First off, when you look at a correlation between all of these teams that have made it this deep into the postseason, Seattle, what did they do at the deadline? You acquired Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez. The Toronto Blue Jays, who did they acquire? They acquired Shane Bieber. The LA Dodgers, they have no shortage of trade acquisitions. And this year was actually one of the weird years that they didn't acquire one of the bigger names, but they got Alex Call. And I can't remember if they got anybody else. The only outlier of this team that didn't acquire a big piece was the Milwaukee Brewers, which the Milwaukee Brewers acquired Jordan Montgomery, who isn't playing. The Chicago Cubs acquired Mike Soroka, who we've talked about and has had clear issues, who pitched, I believe, 1 or 2 starts before he was shut down for the rest of the season. And they went cheap. After a historic start to your 2025 MLB campaign, you decide to inject new life into giving a pitcher that was only gave you 1 or 2 starts when you could have easily acquired somebody that, and I'm not saying bad on Mike Soroka, but you easily could have acquired somebody of bigger stature and name to give you a better chance at this postseason run. The Ricketts family. I know, you have Cubs Con, you have the Kyle Tucker doesn't look like he's going to come back. ESPN, Jesse Rogers was talking about it on Twitter about Kyle Tucker potentially not returning and not coming back to the Cubs. And as William said earlier this year, it will probably be masked up as but we have PCA at home and we'll just pay PCA X amount of money. And he is Kyle Tucker. And I understand Kyle Tucker had a rough season, not the greatest season in the North Side with injury. But I mean, he still is a top 15 MLB player, top echelon in the game player. But the Ricketts family, let's talk about it. I mean, you have one of the biggest markets in baseball, one of the biggest fan clubs in all of sports in the Chicago Cubs. You have one of the biggest brands, Fly the W. You raked in $584 million of revenue, and your 2025 payroll with tax is $213 million. The Cubs had the 3rd highest revenue in Major League Baseball in 2024. In 2025, you had the 14th highest payroll. That is a clear issue and a clear slap in the face to fans. Again, you are the Chicago Cubs. You're not the Toronto. Not Toronto. You're not the Tampa Bay Rays or the Miami Marlins, where you don't have that big of a fan base and that big of a market. You're in one of the biggest markets and biggest brands in baseball, and this is how you pay fans. Again, your fans don't deserve this. Your players don't deserve this, and the city of Chicago doesn't deserve to see a product like this on the field. Again, you start historically, you pay a manager top dollar in Major League Baseball and Craig Counsell, and then you skimp on the roster. That's like getting a Michelin star chef and then giving them okay, you got to go shop at Walmart to go cook the dinner tonight. Not saying Walmart's bad, but you have a Whole Foods budget and you're shopping at Walmart.
Yeah, I mean they still put a decent team out on the field. It's not as good as it could have been. For me, I don't see, or I'm curious, what is their strategy? Is there a fully cohesive plan in Chicago with the Cubs? Because you go all in theory, a Kyle Tucker trade, giving up Cam Smith, that signals to me that you're all in on the 2025 season. And losing Justin Steele for the season was huge. But still, with the way the team was playing in the first half of the season, the position they put themselves heading into the trade deadline, you would think they should have been all in at the deadline. And they essentially do nothing to make the team better. And what ends up being their Achilles heel down the stretch? Starting pitching. They didn't really have anyone they could point to in the postseason that you would feel good about giving the ball to in a postseason start. Losing Cade Horton to injury was huge. Not having him for the playoffs really hurt them. But I just feel like even that, the Cubs should have a better team with who's on the roster. They should have more big contracts on the roster with the amount of money that the front office makes, the ownership makes, whatever. Wrigley is sold out essentially every single game. They have Cubs Con, they have every little pot, they have Oktoberfest, Cubs Oktoberfest. Like they have every little festival you could think of, every possible way. The Cubs are like Taylor Swift, and this might drive some people crazy, but Taylor Swift is a great businesswoman. She thinks of every little possible way she can make money. The Cubs are the same way. They're thinking of every single possible way they can make an extra penny. And good for them. They make a ton of money, but they're not investing it back into the roster. And there's really no excuse not to. They have a great TV deal with Marquee. People are spending money out of pocket to buy Marquee to watch it. They don't have any, extenuating circumstances, outside issues that would cause them to worry about not bringing in revenue. They bring in so much revenue, and to not even it's not even really a conversation of them bringing back Kyle Tucker. It's like, no, they're not going to spend that money when it's a drop in the bucket for the Ricketts family, man. And they can, I don't get it. If I'm a Cubs fan, I'd be worried, especially with the way PCA played down the stretch. I don't think this team right now on paper, what makes you think this team can be good and competing for the division next season?
You also forget they got that huge Dansby Swanson contract that you and me both agree will not age well. Yes, he's a Gold Glove defender.
He can't hit. He can't hit, dude. Look at the postseason stats. He was terrible.
He can't hit. I mean,
he looks like Anthony Volpe at the plate, dude.
Whoa, let's chill with that one. Like we're not going there. But I know you're frustrated because I know you have your family. Part of your family is Cubs fans, and you have people around you that are Cubs fans, but it's doom and gloom in my opinion. I mean, this is not. I mean, I think this is something that Cubs fans need to take more note of how their ownership does not decide to spend. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're one of the big teams in the driver's seats for a salary cap here in the upcoming CBA. I mean, let's just look at the numbers again. I want you to guess right now. Top 5 when you divide revenue and payroll, payroll and revenue, payroll divided by revenue. Just saying how much money of your payroll, how much money of your revenue you use on payroll. Guess the top 5.
Dodgers.
Dodgers are number 2. Their payroll is at $549 million with tax, and they get $752 million of revenue. They use 73%.
It's probably more than that too, revenue wise.
Well, this is
I know.
last year's. So.
Yankees, as much as I don't like Steinbrenner.
No, Yankees are not in the top 10 at all.
Okay, that doesn't surprise me. Mets
are number 1. They have a payroll with tax of $400 million, and they have $444 million of revenue, which is 9th in the bigs. So 90%.
Yeah. Braves.
Braves are not even in the top 15.
Padres.
They're 6. They're 63.8%.
Okay. I don't know. It's Phillies.
Phillies are 4th. They're 67.2, $349 million, and they have $519 million of revenue. One of them is obvious when you think about it, and another one you'll be pretty surprised when I tell you.
I don't know. Giants?
No, Giants are 14th.
I don't know. Tell me.
Toronto in 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
Toronto's 5th in payroll, 13th in revenue. Then they have 71.5%, and 5th is Arizona.
Okay.
But some of note, Yankees are in 11th. They spend $362 million, and they have $728 million of revenue.
It's pathetic.
Which is close to 50%. And the Red Sox are in 23rd, $242 million of payroll and tax, $574 million in revenue. And the Chicago Cubs rank 26. Guess what 4 teams are under them?
Like the Marlins, the Rays.
You got 2 right there. The Marlins are dead last. The Rays are 28th. The Brewers are actually higher. The A's are 19th.
Yeah, because they actually spent some money last offseason. Rockies.
Rockies, no, 18th.
White Sox?
Yeah, White Sox are 29th.
I don't think that's fair right now because, I mean, then again, it is the Reinsdorf family. But they're just in a rebuild right now. They don't have any big contracts.
You're missing one team.
It'll be obvious when I don't know.
The Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
So
Duh.
Peter Appel put it up on Twitter if you guys are interested in reading that. So
the Cubs, interesting offseason. They got a lot of free agents, especially out of that pen. Caleb Thielbar had a career year. Ryan Brazier, Brad Keller, Drew Pomeranz, Carlos Santana are all free agents. They're also losing Taylor Rogers, who was a trade deadline acquisition. Obviously, Kyle Tucker, Aaron Savali, and Willie Castro, also free agents. And Shota has that weird option in his contract that could be a little more confusing than initially it seemed. And then if you look at next season, after 2026, they have some key guys coming off the books. Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, and Jameson Taillon are all free agents after next season. Who is the guy on that? Who's the star on that team moving forward? Like every team I feel like has one guy that can point to, like that's the face of our franchise. Who's the face of the Cubs franchise? It would have, if you told me in May, obviously it would have been PCA, but the dude couldn't. He didn't hit it all down the stretch.
I don't know. I can't tell you. We'll just have to tune back into the 2026 Major League Baseball season to see who's hitting.
They don't have a star player. They don't. And they're, Justin Seal's a good pitcher, but they don't have a star in that starting rotation. Shota was really struggled down the stretch. He gives up so many home runs. Cade Horton could be, we'll see what he does in his full second season.
Yeah.
Sophomore year is always a little bit tough because teams adjust, the league adjusts. There's more data on you. I don't know. I think the Cubs are, again, it's a huge offseason. Let's see if they spend some money. The front office has given us no inclination that they are going to spend money. I think next year could be rough for them. No Kyle Tucker. I know he wasn't as good as Kyle Tucker normally is, but he was playing hurt since June. He had the hand thing, then he had the calf. He's still going to get $400 million plus in free agency because he's only 29 years old, 28 years old. And if I'm as a Yankee fan, I'd rather the Yankees go out and get Kyle Tucker than re-sign Cody Bellinger because Kyle Tucker's a better player than Cody Bellinger. I know statistically it didn't work out that way this year, but I'm telling you, Kyle Tucker will get more money in free agency because he is a better player than Cody Bellinger.
And on that note, before we get into a Yankees death spiral here at 9:01 Eastern Standard Time, we thank you guys for tuning in to the Locked In Sports Podcast. Again, make sure you follow us on Twitter/X, on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, follow the TikTok. And William has a Substack article coming soon. Like always, haven't said that one in a minute. But William, any closing notes?
Bears 3-2. So if there's good news for Chicago sports fans, it is the Bears. They have a winning record. They won Monday Night Football in Washington. Shout out Jake Moody, Michigan kicker, huge game winner. Had some good kicks last night.
You think Debo went to go slap him in his face, Brian Branch style, to Juju Smith-Schuster after the game last night?
I don't know. But
do you know the lore, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, so quick lore. So you saw the game Sunday night, right? You saw what happened Sunday night.
I didn't watch. No.
So Sunday night, the refs were kind of spotty, and the Chiefs ended up beating the Lions. And so Brian Branch was walking off the field, and he had to walk past like the line of scrimmage, and he walked like right past Patrick Mahomes, and everybody was doing like handshakes lines and everything. He didn't do a handshake line. Juju took offense. Juju said something, and then Brian Branch smacked him in his face, and a whole fight ensued after the final whistle was done. There's a picture reminiscent of one of our politicians where Juju Smith-Schuster is bleeding out of his nose. I don't know if it was AI, but I saw the picture. And then the reason I say Jake Moody and Deebo Samuel was Jake Moody was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, wasn't great. And there was a game last year. I remember this game because I had Jake Moody in fantasy football. He had, I think it was 5 field goals, and he only made 1 or 2 field goals against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in between the game-winning field goal and the last field goal he missed, Debo put his hands on Jake Moody because he missed like 4 field goals. And it was just bad.
Okay, well, there you go. Moody was great last night. Bears won, and they got your Saints this weekend. Huge game in Chicago.
Hey, let's go Bears. Bear down, baby. Beat the Saints for us. So let's keep taking those picks.
Yeah, you're in full tank mode.
Oh, we are in tank commander mode. I mean, hey, there's some really good tank games this weekend. You got Dolphins, Browns.
Yeah.
Well, winner has a job, loser doesn't have a job. And the Dolphins still have to play the Saints, and the Saints still have to play the Jets.
Saints Jets could be like immaculate tanking.
Team levels of tanking.
Yeah, the Saints might call you to start at quarterback for that one.
No, the quarterback hasn't been an issue, but I think that game will be on PBS. But I still think that game on PBS would be I think the American public would call the government and call for an arrest of whoever decides to put that on PBS.
Yeah. Well, all right. Some fun
football talk.
Yeah. We'll be back later in the week recapping more of these CS games. Probably. So tonight's Dodgers-Brewers Game 2, and then Wednesday is just Mariners Game 3. So maybe Thursday night, morning. Probably Friday morning after the doubleheader, so we can recap a few games. That's all I got, Luis. You got anything else?
We got to recap. Soon we got to get you all a recap of the offseason because there's been some managerial changes. I mean, just quickly, Matt Schilt retired. Angels moved on from Ron Washington. You know, he had his health issues. Looks like Albert Pujols is going to be the manager there in LA for the Angels. Also, there's a rumor that I did read that Yadier Molina, which we'll have to ask Alden about that. Yadier Molina joining the Cardinals staff. I don't know how he feels about that one. Beginning of the end of Ollie Marmol.
I think he would be very excited for that. I think, yeah, he would be excited.
Beginning of the end for Ollie Marmol. I don't know. And those are a couple. I think San Francisco moved on from their manager as well.
Yeah, Melvin, and then Schumacher is taking over in Texas, but Bochy got fired. So yeah, there's been a lot of
Bochy got fired. Whoa, really?
Yeah, where have you been?
I thought he retired.
Was it a retirement or a fireman? I don't know. But yeah, there's been a lot of movement managerial-wise. We've been distracted by the playoffs. We can get to that in the offseason preview podcast, whatever, the news roundup.
Nationals, Braves. They're saying David Ross is a Braves candidate.
God.
Good
luck to the Braves. Good luck to the Braves. I'll say that. All right. Well, let's get out of here. This was a long one. Luis, thank you as always. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back later in the week. Enjoy the baseball. Until then, catch you next time. Peace out.